Everybody black
on black.
Blackity black.
Right.
So if somebody, what you figured out is if you don't like somebody or somebody doesn't like you, it ain't because you're black.
It ain't because you're black. That's one thing that HBCUs will teach you.
It nets it out of the
right.
occasion.
It definitely does.
So at that point, what you're able to do is just be yourself.
Right.
And to work on yourself.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
There will still be
The journey. The journey.
new sheriff in town, and his name is
The journey.
Journey.
This thing is bigger than Nino Brown. This is
The journey. The journey.
What is it that moved you?
The journey. The journey. The journey. The journey.
Welcome back to another episode of The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today, as always, we got a Memphis icon that you're going to remember and you're going to be so grateful that we brought him to you. But first, before we go there, we have our quote. And today's quote comes from the great Arthur Ashe, professional tennis player, civil rights activist, and much, much more. But for the sake of this, we're going to get right into his quote. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. What does that mean to me? Well, starting where I am is just simply that. I can't go any further. I can't go back. So I got to start right here today to make a difference. And then I'm going to jump to do what you can. Do what you can because you can only do what you can do. And today is a day that you can make a difference. Now listen, this brother right here that I got with me today, he's making a difference. A multitude of jobs that we won't even talk about. Straight out of Memphis, Central High, Howard University, Vanderbilt University. He's an entrepreneur. I call him a transcendentalist thinker. He's a leader of men. He's a father, executive, and a phenomenal husband. We talking to none other than Mark Yates. What's up, Mark?
What's up, Larry?
Hey, man. Good seeing you as always.
Thank you. Good to be seen.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to jump right in, man. We ain't going to tarry with this thing. Tell me about early years of Mark, where you were raised, what part of the city, and just some of those formative years.
Sure. Let's break it down really quickly. So my formative years were Pendleton, Browning area, Bethel Grove area.
Grove.
South Memphis.
Okay.
Straight out of South.
South.
I went to St. John Elementary.
Okay.
First and second grade. And then we lifted out of there. My dad worked for the post office. My mom, she worked in the healthcare field. And so we went out to Whitehaven, 1973, 74.
Okay.
And that's when Whitehaven was really white.
Oh, I'm sure.
And so we got out there and we tried to go. They wanted us to transfer schools, my parents did, to St. Joseph, but they wouldn't let us in. And so you think about that right now, why they said the school was too crowded. They didn't have spots. And so
this is the 70s.
This is the 70s.
Early
so
70s.
That was the code then,
right,
to exclude, who they wanted and who they didn't want. And so we waited a year, but then the next year we got in, we knew the priest and did all that. So I was really raised Catholic, but that was, so it was around a lot of, we were the minority in the school, the gross minority.
Before you go there though, like in the household, like who was in the house with you?
That very good question. I have an older brother, he's 3.5 years older than me. I have one older blood sibling, and that's him. Okay. And my mom and dad, they were married 36 years before my father's death, and then I had my grandmother. My maternal grandmother was always in the house.
Okay.
So that is a huge part of who I am and how I think, and as I begin to reflect on the decisions and my decision-making processes, yeah.
All right. Well, who outside of the house had a huge impact on young Mark?
I had my friends. I've always been, social.
Okay.
And, I enjoy a good laugh, a good joke, and my friends, and we were athletic.
Okay.
So playing sports, coaches, early on, I was tiny, always have been, smaller dude, but I played football.
Really?
Yeah. played football, and it was a formidable football player. I could play.
Okay.
And played baseball and played softball and all the sports.
Okay.
But the football was the where I learned perseverance.
That's your jam.
That's
That
my
was your
jam. That's perseverance that's my jam.
You still a big football fan today?
I am. I enjoy it. It should be football and politics.
Okay.
Now. Because
Who's your team?
Nobody.
Nobody?
Nobody. It was the Steelers in the 70s. I chagrin all the Cowboy fans.
We all do.
Yeah, exactly. But we never had a team here, and so I'm not a Titans fan. They're the old Oilers, according to me. Mm-hmm. But I tried to root. I used to go to New York a lot. I tried to root for the Jets, but that's just like jumping on a bandwagon going nowhere.
I know that's right. Jets is. You and Gary Vaynerchuk might be the only don't vet Jets fans in the world.
I tried to, but it just didn't work out.
Okay, so what decision did a young Mark make that ended up having a truly impactful impact on your life? Mm-hmm. However, you had no clue it was going to have such an impact when you made that decision.
That's, I'm going to go with my first mind and kind of respond to that. Because I think it was a conscious decision to really be black. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because, I saw it, growing up. There was this, growing up in the 70s and the 80s, there was this duality of, you can, just when I say black, is to immerse yourself thoroughly in the black culture.
Okay.
And understand who we are as a people, where we have come from, why we have experienced the things, and to say, okay, I'm taking this,
right,
and understanding this is gonna, this ain't gonna be easy,
right.
Whereas, you can sell out. I know
absolutely.
some sellouts.
Oh yeah,
I'm friends with some sellouts.
Okay.
People who, they've just said,
define sellouts for a young person who might not remember those early hip hop days. What defines sellout? What is a sellout to Mark Yates?
Sellout is to consciously or unconsciously step away from who you really are as a person, and not gain the knowledge that you need to,
right,
and to have logarithmic decisions, meaning those decisions start and one decision leads to another decision, leads to another decision, where you drift so far from where you've been that you don't even know, what's your Orion. You have no idea what your North Star is.
Right.
And you can't even get back.
Okay.
But for me, knowing my grandmother, knowing both my grandmothers, and my mom and dad, my brother, he was like an ice cutter for me, man.
Right.
I love my big brother because he, I could watch the things that he did and, emulate the good things and pivot off what I saw. Hey, that wasn't
things he got a butt whooping for.
Yeah,
it's like, nah, you go that way.
I'm cool on all that. I'm cool on all that. My pops was coming to him. So that allowed me to mature faster and to really, just to gravitate towards, what we liked. And that was, just being, as they say now, we didn't know what it was, but just being a part of the culture.
Right, right.
And it's been interesting because it just has, as I say, it builds on itself.
Right.
One little interesting thing is I just hear recently, there's levels to this.
Right.
And before I go to that, I made a conscious decision. When I say a conscious decision to be black, going to school, going to an HBCU.
That was all decisions you had really made.
That was intentional.
Right.
Because I looked at the state schools and I looked at Georgetown. I applied early admit to Georgetown. Didn't get in early admit, but got into Howard immediately, and I was like, I'm done.
Well, hold on. Before you go there,
Yeah.
go back to that. We're gonna unpack your time at Howard.
Yeah.
Well, how different are you from the person you dreamed you would be as a kid?
That's a real good question. I probably am not too far off, center of the fairway.
Really?
In a lot of ways.
Okay.
In a lot of ways.
When you were a kid, what did most of us, me, dreamed basketball, dreamed being a doctor, maybe even being a football player at some point, or maybe even a surgeon. Any of those kind of thoughts, or was it always an executive?
I'm being pragmatic about it. It was always kind of a business, and whether I'd gone, in a terminal way towards being a lawyer or something like that, then no, I've always, even as a young kid, I was, selling seeds or selling candy or being some type of entrepreneur and
Right.
focusing on revenues.
Okay, so before we let everybody think that Mark was this real pristine brother that, Obama-esque, didn't do nothing. When was the last time you got a butt whooping? By your dad, by your dad, early. By your dad.
So I probably
When's the last time Pops
we're
warmed that booty up?
We're dealing this where you can't tell those stories anymore because people will get picked. He
gone. Yeah, it's statute limitations gone.
Posthumously, my dad would snatch my brother and I. We had bunk beds. We shared a room. And one time I can remember we went swimming, and we went swimming in a mud hole.
Okay.
We were just that, had that much pent up demand to go swimming. It was like, right up the street. And it was all the guys in the neighborhood. We had gone swimming, and we literally was swimming in mud like pigs.
Oh, wow.
And so we all came back. I had to been around 10 or 11.
Okay.
My brother's 13 and 14. And so we came back, just muddy and, tried to play it off. And, my mom, of course, she delegated the discipline on that one. And so she said, just wait till your daddy get home.
Oh,
and
we knew what that meant.
And so it was a classic story of we all, we had the water hose, you had to spray us off, and they look at us like we're crazy. And so we went to sleep, but he came home and he went to snatching.
Oh, wow.
And so that was, but we were, for the most part, we tried to be good.
Hey, didn't we all?
We tried, man.
It's okay. Last question.
Yes, sir.
Last question of the segment. You mentioned before that you made a conscious decision to be black. I want to know, what was the instance when you realized you were black?
Well, that's a spectrum of realizations.
Hold on for a second. Hold on.
Okay.
Listen, this is the journey, and we're talking to this brother, Mark Yates. When we come back, Mark's going to share with you when he realized he was a brother.
The Boys of Color Conference is here again.
The Gentlemen's League and The Journey are hosting the Boys of Color Conference right here in Memphis, Tennessee at AgriCenter International.
Parents, send your young men in grades 3 through 12 on Saturday, March 29th for a day of learning, inspiration, and mentoring. From coding to boxing to cooking, there's something for everyone.
Empower your son to dream bigger, achieve greater, and break barriers. Watch him take the first step toward a brighter future.
Register at thegentsleague.org.
Boys of Color Conference, March 29th at AgriCenter International. Welcome back to The Journey. I'm your host, Larry Robinson, and today we have Mark Yates, Regional VP at Tennessee Valley Authority. That's who he is today. You're looking at the finish, not the finish, but the latest result. You didn't see the formative years. So that's why we're having this conversation. So Mark, Let me ask you, you've been married for quite a while, haven't you? Mm-hmm. How long you been married?
27 and a half.
27 and a half years?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
28 in July.
How many children?
Two girls. My daughters are soon to be 24 on the 17th of this month, and the other is 21.
Girl dad.
22, yeah.
Girl dad.
Girl dad. Bonafide, OG girl dad. Original girl dad, yeah. Oh my God, that rewires your whole mind too.
I'm sure.
Oh my Lord, you're a boy dad, so you.
I'm a boy dad.
Woo! Yeah, I don't know nothing about none of that.
Hey, we left the folks hanging a little bit and wanted to talk about, when did you realize you were a black man? I mean, the moment you said, this is who I am.
You know, so, you know, the first occasion, and this is when I, you know, saw wind of racism and discrimination was, you know, I said, we moved to a new neighborhood, and it was all white. You know, it was all white for about a year, and then I mean, it was like, and then it just I mean, they just ran out of there.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they just, you know, you would hear them. The neighbors would come. Well, we're moving to Germantown. We're moving to Germany. We was like, what is this place called Germantown? Because we just got to Whitehaven.
Right.
You know, we just like coming out. So it was the occasion when my neighbor, they had a pool out there, and invited me to swim in the pool.
Okay.
And his mother, she, for lack of a better way of saying it, she just cut up sideways.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it just...
In front of you?
It wasn't direct, but it was like I was outside the house, and we were dear friends. You know, this was one of my, you know, when you're younger, you have best friends.
Your bestie.
He was my bestie, and it was like, but his mom was like, you know, she had a bright line on, you know, she's not having any black kids swim in her pool.
Wow.
So that was the first occasion when I may be, you know, one of these.
Wait. What did that as a kid? Do you remember when you had to get out of that pool?
Yeah, it settles you into a you know, if you don't have a foundation, you can have a tremendous inferiority complex about that. You know, like, okay, what did I do? Or am I wrong?
Right.
You know, is there something that's wrong with me that I can't be here? And so, you know, you kind of try to work through it, and through a child's rationalizations and you know, whatever tools a child has, which are not very many from a mental and behavioral health. So then it was I can remember we would go to the YMCA. We would go to the Davis YMCA in Whitehaven. This is 73.
Right.
And we would, again, my dad wanted us to, it was always swimming is kind of a common theme in my life. And my dad wanted us to take swimming lessons and go swimming. And they would always tell him that they were full, that they would not allow any more memberships.
Wow. So this period of moving to Whitehaven,
it was hardcore, bro.
Was a tremendous transition in your life.
It was a lot going on, and it was, you know, we were young, and so, you know, we eventually, you know, several years later, we bought the family membership. You know, my dad, you know, he was like, you know, I can pay for this, I can do this. And so we got in, and you know, so that, but the real occasions, it was when I was at the bank. And, you know, finished the training program. I guess I was early 20s, and we would all get paired up with other, I was on a commercial lending track. And you would be asked to go out and go with another lender and go in his territory, you know, and go on calls with him. So I never got picked up.
Out of all the interns?
I was the first. I never got, out of all the interns, this time I was a trainee, so I graduated, had a degree, all the rights and privileges pertaining thereunto. You know, I'm bona fides.
Right.
And, you know, so I never got picked up. And then I had these other women that came in, and they just got picked up, snatched up immediately. So I was like, okay, this is what we're doing? This is how we're doing it?
Right.
But, you know, that only grounded me more. That made, for some reason, I don't know who I was then, but I just worked harder.
Right.
I learned. I mean, I was grinding on Lotus 1, 2, 3. This was pre-Excel. You know, learning, you know, everything I could.
Right.
Just working my craft, and had, I say I had mentors, but I had friends who had gone to schools like Morehouse and other schools who I could lay in, we were all there, and we were talking.
Yeah.
They were at Citigroup, and they would send me their performance appraisals and say, "Hey,
how important were your friends?
Man, they're everything.
They are everything.
They are everything. It's those old analogies of you are the company you keep.
Right.
If you hang around with 4 people and they're this kind of way, you're gonna be the 5th.
Right.
If you want to, whatever it is.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this to the public. This brother got some bad friends. And that's one of the things that I've been most impressed with in this group of young men from Memphis, Tennessee. And I got to mention Central High School during that era, and the quality of young men that came through, doctors, lawyers, policy leaders. I mean, I can go on, but I want you for this moment to shout out what some of your closest friends do.
Oh man, let's start with you got investment bankers, you got gangs of politicians, high-ranking politicians. You've got lawyers, you've got high executives with huge portfolios and multi-billion-dollar corporations. I got then we can drop down in sectors. You can go energy, you can go telecommunications. It just goes on. But
I think you're the personification, or the group you have is a personification of that group that you hang around with. Talks about who you are.
Yeah.
And I believe that is something that's very important. Very important. And then you had those friends.
Right.
To call on and lean on during those times of despair in corporate America, where you could have been isolated, could have been by yourself, but
no, it was an isolation because I was out there by myself, but for the fact that I was comfortable, I knew I had worked hard and had friends inside the organization that I could and then when I did get placed, this is the kind of the continuation of the question. The original question is, when did you know? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what I knew that I knew.
Okay.
Let me say that again.
Unpack that.
Yeah, I didn't know that I knew what I knew until I knew it.
Okay.
And that was
that's a brain teaser for you. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm going through this bank track, and then they throw me out here, and I started lending money. So that took a lot. I got the bank's money, and I'm lending it.
Right.
So I get a call. I'm making a car loan to this lady. She calls me, and she calls on the phone, and I get her. I write up all the documents, and then she's like, "Yeah, this is a beautiful car. It's a Chrysler LeBaron convertible." I remember the car. Mm-hmm. And she said, "It has all of the N-word jewels on it."
Wait a minute.
Meaning,
she said this on the phone.
She's talking to me on the phone. She never met me. So, but she
the N-word jewels.
Yeah, she said it has, and I had never heard that phrase before. I'm like, and I said, what? I'm like, what is that? She said, oh yeah, it has all the all the N-word jewels. And so I'm like, this woman just said. I said, okay, well come on in, 3:00 tomorrow, whatever. Let's work through the deal.
Right.
So she shows up.
I know her jaw hit the ground.
She was beat red. And then what she did do is she called me back after we did the loan, because I made it alone. I was okay, whatever. Let's do this. This is what you do.
Right.
This ain't what I do, but this.
Right.
So she called me back and she apologized profusely. She said, I said some things that were wrong. I didn't mean it. I was,
Okay.
She actually did.
Wow.
But, it just showed me that, so that had to been around 91, 92.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I remember the years because I can always overlay it. But what the statement I make, I didn't know what I knew. That I knew was when I went to Howard, when I matriculated into Howard, And I've had this experience of that,
Right.
of owning and knowing your blackness,
Right.
a couple of times, and I had one just recently too.
Okay.
And I'll share about. But when you got on campus, and it's all you know this too,
Right.
And it's all black people.
Right.
The administration's black,
Right.
the people cleaning up black, people cooking the food black, the students,
Right.
the professor, everybody black.
Everybody black.
Black,
On black.
blackity black.
Right.
So if somebody, what you figured out is if you don't like somebody or somebody doesn't like you, it ain't because you're black.
It ain't because you're black. That's one thing that HBCUs will teach you.
It nets it out of the
Right.
occasion.
It definitely does.
So at that point, what you're able to do is just be yourself.
Right.
And to work on yourself,
Right.
without all these, getting a phone call and saying, well, it's got the N-word, or whatever it is. It's just
What a microaggression.
the mic, what all that,
All of that.
So because you're defending against all that, whether you know it or not.
Right.
So coming back to that occasion when she did that, or that, it was like, hey, that's you.
Right.
I'm cool. I got a job to do.
Right.
Let's just do the
Right.
job. I'm not gonna plant no flags on this hill right now.
Right.
Because I'll be putting flagpoles all around this place.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, I can't even imagine.
So that was allowed me to just motor on through, because I was self-actualized in
Right.
what I knew or what I was learning and the people that I associated. I had network, a local network of people. National, people all around the country, from
Right.
LA to DC. Hey, what's up, Chicago to,
Right.
what we talking about?
Wow. So let's go back. 10 years, you're going. How did you get to Central? What was that thing that you said, okay, I'm going to Central from Whitehaven?
So my mom wanted us, she did have the prescience to say, hey, y'all need to go into the real world.
Okay.
We were going into these parochial schools,
Right.
and they were kind of,
Skewed.
yeah, there you go, skewed. They were skewed.
I went to Catholic school too.
Yeah, exactly. They were.
So
they was on one. So
Yeah.
she was like, nah, and so they had the optional school.
Yeah.
And we were somewhat good students,
Right.
but we learned when we got there, we weren't as what we thought we was.
Right. I learned that too. When I went to public school, in the 10th grade, and I swear it was like, hey man, y'all been paying for education that
Y'all
ain't really on point.
bruh,
Right.
over here, it was like they had you in this little bubble,
Right.
and feeding you, is treating you like a mushroom,
Right.
keeping you in the dark and
Right.
kind of and so you came and you was like, okay, all these people, they are doing their thing and
Right.
they're, so you got to lace up every day and
Exactly.
go get it.
Exactly.
And so that was, but it was an optional school, and I first went to Bellevue, and that was crazy.
Oh, you went to Bellevue too?
Bro, I went to Bellevue. Please trust and believe, I am a Bobcat. Do not take my Bobcat status away from me.
Man. Speaking of young Mark, you go back, Whitehaven, just getting home from school, Catholic school, sitting there, he's watching the afternoon, after school rocks or after school movies. You walk in the door, what would you say to him?
I would just say, just continue to be a learner. Apply yourself. Learn everything you can and trust your instincts.
Okay, all right.
Be honest.
Gotcha. Now, there's many young men, young boys that are impressionable, that are looking to us to lead the way. I'd like to ask you to speak directly to them and give them something, a Markism, that they can take with them from viewing this Journey episode.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you. You can never work hard enough. You can never try hard enough. You can never know enough information. Apply yourself always. Always seek guidance, seek advice, and use your discernment. Pray, and pray continuously for everything. On every occasion, if you're ever in doubt, just pray about it and know that this world in which we live just didn't show up and happen. That there is a creator. Whatever you divine to, there is a higher power, and that higher power will lead you to the successes that you want for yourself and for your family.
Do what you can. Do what you've been blessed to have right there available for you to utilize. Listen, for Mark Yates, I'm Larry Robinson, and you've been listening to and watching The Journey. Till the next time. Thank you to our partner, the Grand Boulé of Sigma Pi Phi Fraternity, Delta Chapter. To hear more incredible stories like this, be sure to download the Kudzukian app from the App Store or Google Play, or check out the Journey Memphis podcast on all your major podcast providers. Also, check us out on the Kudzukian Network.